pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'd like to open the meeting today with the condolences for the family of Connie Wilson, who passed recently. Funeral arrangements still pending, I believe. So we want to pass on our condolences to her and her family. Okay. Everyone had a chance to read the minutes? I think there was one correction already noted. I have no further additions or corrections.
I'd make a motion we approve the minutes with one change.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Passed 3-0. Any commissioner comments and committee reports?
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
I have none.
I was going to say that the only thing this week I had was multiple days at the Atchison County Fair, which seemed to be a huge success. Appreciated all the work that was done for the fair by everyone. I'm happy that they had good results and hope they can continue.
I may make one note. I noticed some of the floats was throwing out candy, and we look like we're kind of cheapskates, so I would like to, I'll donate some money next year at the fair to throw out some candy or have somebody pass it out or something.
I think that's something we'd like to try to get a couple.
Employees could walk with us.
The magnetic signs no longer work on new vehicles. I went to put it on my truck and because of the aluminum body, so we had to get some tape from.
You've got too new a truck, Bill.
Well, I had to get some tape from Representative Epley. He was thought I didn't think about it till the time, but
It's a good thing he's got a silver truck because that duct tape was like, you couldn't see it. We're having too much fun. Okay, any reports from elected officials and department heads? Nobody else here, so Corey, you're up.
I just got the monthly report.
I think
we all
Have copies of it.
Yeah.
Attached.
Michelle. Okay. Did you have one? Or mine's here.
Looks like we improved in a lot of places.
Yeah, I'm very happy with some of the improvements. Admittedly, some of the shoot time is because of festivals, and where people walk up, we have an instant shoot time. So that did bring it down some, so there's a little artificial in that. But overall, really pretty good. The only time we kind of went up on was response time on transfers. We only have so much control of that because if they stack 2 or 3 at the same time, that have to wait for the truck comes back to the city, affects our response times to the transfers. But overall, very happy, very pleased with the times. Had an increase in calls, but again, that can be pretty much attributed to the familiar of our Lake Fest festivities. We get a spike there. Also, the percentage of transports goes down as a result too, because the vast majority of what we see at those 2 events are treat and release, Band-Aids, that type of thing. So nothing concerning in any of the anomalies there. Our transports to out-of-county hospitals went down. Don't have a real reason, coincidence, because we've seen about the same number of actual patients and the critical patients are about the same number. So, zones remain pretty constant, a few more transfers this month, and the breakdown of the acuity of the patients is nearly identical. So, tracking right along, but happy with the response numbers coming down on some of the critical values. That's great. Crews are really performing well.
I had one question asked him about the ambulance fair. He had talked to Chairman Mr. Knoll, and Mr. Knoll explained to him the same thing I did. He didn't think that when an ambulance on the west side from Effingham left, that we sent anybody over. I said, I'm pretty sure we do.
Did you not do that last shift?
Yes, sir, we did.
Post an ambulance back to the way. We've done that twice recently. Since we talked about it at the last meeting, it's come up twice.
But since then, it's got my mind to thinking. If we ever do decide on a new road and bridge, would there be advantage to building a little bathroom, break room, air conditioned, heated at that facility? So if we did stage something out there, the medics wouldn't have to sit in the ambulance and leave the ambulance run.
That would be amazing. That would be wonderful. That crew morale, posting hurts crew morale. It just does, and it's a necessary evil the way our population densities are. But yeah, if they had a place to get inside, have a bathroom and not have to sit in the ambulance, that would be a wonderful thing for the crews.
You seem like met me so recently that I don't have any questions for you, I guess.
Talk about collection. Maybe you want that on camera.
On the what?
Collections.
Oh, I think we discussed that. That was the collection rate, and I think that was my mistake. We talked about that last week during the budget hearing, and I said 80%. Well, that was...
No. Bad collection. What we discussed this meeting.
Oh, okay.
You want to discuss that on camera? Or?
I don't know. That's a question for Pat.
Would that be executive conversation?
No, it would probably be an open session. I thought the consensus was the committee should address, the advisory board should address it first.
Well, and that is the going to collection agency.
Yeah,
That-
we're actively pursuing a contract. Mr. Henderson has given me some additional resources for that. We haven't committed to anything as of right now. But yeah, if you want to bring that up in front of the advisory board.
Okay.
But we've got several different routes we can go. We've hit that point this time.
Okay. Well, I know we talked about, the timing of when things go to collections and that. We had never done anything specifically on who to contract with or anything like that. So I didn't know whether it's time to go then to the board with that
It is.
first.
We're at 120 days of aging on some of this now. I think that's the point.
Yeah.
So we should start pursuing something. They're receiving a paper bill from us and notifications. But 120 days is about where we think we should be.
I don't know when your
Process.
next advisory, but should you come up with something like, if it's under $50, you don't pay $100 to collect $50? Is there going to be some kind of policy set in place?
Correct. We've looked at that very thing, but there has to be a threshold that you cross. Yeah, there is no point in spending 100 to make 50. It's silly. So yeah, we had that in the works. We received bids from 3 different collection companies. And again, Mr. Henderson's brought to my attention another local resource that we're pursuing actively too.
And it could be a situation where you use several different people.
Potentially,
I think you just want to use one.
if they specialize in something. What we're trying to do with the bids we've done right now is consolidate into one that handles everything from a bad check charge to a court appearance to even submitting to the state set-off program for us. So once it goes into that collections process, they see it to the very end.
Should, county council, should we also involve the whole county, or is this just an ambulance issue? Such as bad checks in the treasurer's office?
Oh, I don't think we have a lot of those.
Okay.
And I'm not sure, I haven't looked at what they have in accounts receivable.
I think that would
I
be,
think the bad checks here generally prosecuted by the county attorney.
Okay.
I think that'd be really hard to integrate with a bid for their service. Because that's
But I
kind
could ask. It certainly wouldn't hurt to ask through this process to see if they offer that service as well. But I wouldn't want to step on Connie's toes necessarily.
correct.
We better just leave it like we got it, probably.
I don't, right, I would concur. I don't think we have a lot
That
of
many.
those, and I think the ones we have are prosecuted by the county attorney, and that's pretty effective, actually. So,
All right, we'll leave.
Leave that go, and it'll be just your in-house collections.
Yeah, and When is our next advisory board meeting?
Is it
the
the 8th?
Friday?
No, it's usually the first. Well, it had been the
It had
first.
been.
We kind of went to the second, but the
Mhm.
last one was the first again. So if we're back to the first, it's be the 8th of September.
Yeah, that'd be correct.
Or, well, actually the first one would be the first. Yeah.
Yep.
So if we're back on to the first Friday,
Yeah,
it'll
and
just be a couple
I'll see
weeks.
what Wes scheduled that. And he usually gets an email out a week or two before, so. But yeah, we'll definitely bring that. We haven't committed to anything as of yet, but we've got options on the table, but it's hit that time.
Yeah.
Well,
agree.
it's better to get something into place before you start getting a handful, and the next thing you got a cabinet full, and
Mm-hmm. And I want to have a logical process and a protocol that we follow. When it hits this is what happens. And then there's no question, there's no anybody thinks we're playing favorites, anything like that. When it hits the point, it goes through the process.
Well, if we wait too long, then we'll not only be starting a new process, we'll be starting with a backlog.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's going to put that much more pressure on the new system. So
Yeah, and we are working. People that will respond to us and make an effort,
Mhm.
we're not putting them through this process. If they can make X amount of dollar payment a week or a month, we're working with people. And I think we should work with people. But people that just don't answer and don't acknowledge their bill,
absolutely.
this is the route we're going to go.
Okay. Well, anyone else have any questions? Thank you.
All right. Have a good afternoon.
You too.
that was Lydia, I think.
Mm-mm. No. Okay, we've
So
got-
evidently he's working an ambulance today?
yeah, I think they have an ambulance out here
I
right
see.
now. And that's the reason they could leave her, because he did warn us that they had a call. Yeah, could have went on. Okay, just bringing this up, I don't know if it was brought to our attention that there was a wastewater permit through K.S.A. that they got the permit. It's went for a year with no action, and K.S.A. says it's now they'll have to reapply if they want to act on that wastewater permit. Pat usually,
Copy of that.
okay. Just make everyone aware of that, if you want to see it. We have a PO from Road and Bridge for signposts, for 200 signposts, 12 foot by 3 pound green U-channel posts at $27.14 each, in the amount of $5,428 to Wellborn Sales is the name of the outfit.
I presume we got more than one bid.
I
Don't know.
I think he priced them. I don't know if we actually took bids or not. Do I hear a motion to accept the bid?
So moved.
I second, Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Pass 3-0. Put that in here. Okay, we have the payroll to sign off on.
Okay, you look at these. You won't look through them? or-
Yeah, I will later. Put them over here.
Back fold off. There you go.
Michelle, this morning you had told me something that was on the agenda for today that,
It was the,
what was that? Just don't want to miss anything.
on the back page, the second one.
Oh,
So the
okay.
first one on the back page is Sedgwick County, you guys are wanting to discuss that. I don't know if stuff was coming back up for it. or-
Sis wasn't coming back up.
Okay.
Forgot what that was, Sedgwick Road.
The one with the north of the,
Oh, the,
quarry.
okay, yeah. I knew there was something else
It was just one, when Linda took the minutes, she put it on the agenda. so I just-
because he was gone last week, and so I will get with him on that. And that was the rough bridge north of town.
Where they grabbed off that apron.
Mm-hmm.
and made it
Right. And I'm just to get these disparaging or desperate subjects and it's hard to concentrate. Okay, Stacy, you want to come on up? You're here.
Can't open till 1:30.
Oh, well,
We can
the
discuss
br-
other things.
they're not here, but if there's anything else you have to discuss, I never thought of the timing issue.
it's for 1:30
Yeah.
and everything else.
What about the, your well that's covered up with asphalt? Seth said, well, you take the lead, but he's swamped right now, so.
Yeah, I understand that.
But, yeah, I happened to see her at lunch, ran into her, so we sat down and I filled her in that when Seth's aware of it, he said he'll get it taken care of as soon as possible.
Yeah, but how soon as possible? If we come right now, would we get docked for it?
No, we're not gonna do that.
Okay.
It's just something that needs done.
It just needs done. Okay, well, we got some time here, I guess. Anyone have any other new business before the board that I'm not aware of?
We need it. Just go next one.
Do you want to look at any of these bills or anything? Take that top one that goes with this.
I think it goes pretty smooth with the tear down. And it-
Excellent.
Good.
That company did an excellent job with everything. They did everything exactly the way we asked them to do it, and
That was Lexico, wasn't it, from Leavenworth?
it was Magic Demolition.
Oh, that's
Materials
right, from St.
Company.
Joe, that's right, our senior.
And,
That's good to hear.
the owner, boss, I don't know, he came out and sat with me a couple days in advance, and I told him how everything works, and he brought his truck driver out and showed him everything, and they did an excellent job.
I don't know, I guess you just take it for granted, but it looks so nice now.
It does look very nice.
It looks nice. I guess you get used to seeing an old building, and my
Well, we
wife
took
said,
4
"Well,
loads of the brick.
my wife said she should have kept it going."
What'd you say about the brick?
We only took 4 loads of the brick. They took it somewhere else.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
See, I noticed it. I brought that up one day that there was a truck and they did it at St. Joe.
They did a really good job separating it out.
I think he resells it up there. He got it sells wood and pipes and brick, but whatever.
He didn't bring us any metal at all.
Good.
So everything that we got, and I think it was 189 tons is what we got into our CD pile.
Not as much as I thought.
No, because they was predicting 3 something, wasn't it?
Well, if they would've brought the brick, it would've been, you know,
Yeah.
but they didn't.
So the contribution wouldn't have been that much.
About $3,500, something like that.
We have a big pile, of course I shouldn't be saying for this to Seth. Do you have any use for any of the grindings out there around your back, that back road or anything?
Them grindings for
The highway?
off that they took off of was it Ottawa Road?
Yeah.
Millings.
Because we had a couple of businesses interested in it and they were going to see about selling it to them.
No, I don't think there's any for it.
We just got to sign one, just don't worry, we got some more.
Well, I don't know. Might have got
We got to
3.
sign every one of these?
Well, that's the first one of these that we've done.
We get the new containers in yet?
Not yet.
They should be coming shortly,
Well, it takes them,
a while.
yeah, 90 days is what they're going in.
When are we gonna be going out for bids for the trash, for the hauling off? That's coming up pretty quick, isn't
September the 12th.
it? Have you sent those?
Mhm.
You got any returns yet? Any?
Yeah, I think it takes a while.
Hopefully that doesn't scare us too bad. But you actually thought they may go down because of the
Well,
volume?
the recycling may go down. I don't know that the trash will.
So now I don't think we usually sign all of these, do we?
Just
Jack.
sign the one.
Yeah.
He's got 2 to sign. Well, he's looking.
Are you done with these? I've looked at the summary, but I haven't looked at the actual
That
bills.
was on it, wasn't it? No, it was sitting there. I don't believe this clip was on those, was it?
Yeah, I think there was one.
This need to be signed also.
You know, we've only usually just signed one. I've had 2 of them that I signed. I think that's all right, and I don't think we need to sign that one.
Two bids on the truck? Do you know what surplus money from the 1% sales tax that you collected this year that you haven't spent? You know, I know we carried some from the last, because we was talking about joint communication is running real short, but maybe we need to adjust that percentage if you're having a lot of carryover. Do you know what?
I think that was done during the
Yeah,
budget.
but I don't think we changed the rates because we really didn't know how much surplus you had this year. We knew how much you carried over, but we don't know how much you built this year because I think the rates was changed after what you carried over. Any idea?
I can't tell you off the top of my
Yeah,
head, no.
but-
I'd have to look at the paper.
Okay.
Say, Pat, do you have anything? We got 5 minutes before the bid openings. Do you have anything for us?
Yeah, a couple things. Eric had sent an email to me and to Wes about a broadband initiative for Recover Atchison Senior Village for, it looked like it was a subsidy for the cost of having internet and communications services at Senior Village. And I think that would probably also apply to the health department, Multi-County Board of Health. Seemed like they would be eligible. I wasn't sure whether that was something that I was to look into or.
Well, I got the email sent to me, and I didn't know anything about that, if that was anything that we needed to look into. So I sent it to you and Wes just so have sets of eyes on it that need, see if there was a need or anything
That was
else.
something to take back to the meeting, or K.S.A, or
No.
going to discuss it?
No,
That's
that
different.
was Mr. Shealy's recommendation that there would be some things sent to K.A.C. about changing the requirements for.
And this is different than that.
This was somebody almost like wanting to bid on broadband, or
I think that there's a federal grant available to subsidize the cost of broadband service, that is internet service, high-speed internet service to rural health providers. And
I just forwarded it on to you and to Wes because I know so little about the subject that I just don't want to miss out on something that maybe if I don't know who all it was addressed to, and I just try to get it in the hands of people that would know if that's something we need to look into or not. So
okay.
that's the reason. That's the only reason I forwarded it.
Okay. Second, with the tax sale, identifying the properties that would be eligible for the next tax sale. CIC had a symposium in Wichita last week, and it appeared to me, trying to get in contact with people in their office in Fort Collins, Colorado, that everybody was in Kansas for that meeting. So we're no further along than we were a week ago in terms of having the spreadsheet produced for us. Again, it would not have the taxes that are not yet delinquent included on it. Roger is also working on getting that list done. We added another year for our discussion, and it only added less than 10 properties. I thought that it might be a considerable amount, but I think it went from 312 to 320 or something like that in the number. And of course, that includes that it still has in all the properties that were on the last tax sale, and those will be off
This is something,
Friday.
it would probably be pay CIC to get a system for tax sales, because we'd have to pay for it unless another county has one in the state, right?
Well, yes, but they allegedly have one, and it's one of the frustrations that I have with CIC is that they don't seem to have very good documentation available for the users. And Michelle asked about it at the symposium and was sort of told, well, gosh, yeah, you could hire us to come teach you how to use that. And it seems to me that they ought to, as part of their service, give us access to all of the tools that their software has, rather than look at them as a hidden opportunity for them to make money. I'm also somewhat disappointed that people that I've talked to, or that I had talked to earlier, weren't aware of what their software capabilities were. And so when we had looked into it a year ago, we were sort of told they didn't have it. And then Michelle found it, I guess, when she was trying to learn CIC. And then when we did some inquiries about it, Oh, yeah, we have that available, but what do they have? 3 or 4 pages is all in their manual? that's-
And a lot of pictures, not a lot of explanation. And I called because they were having a meeting on it at WebEx, and that was for Colorado. So it wasn't actually a Kansas-based thing, so I'm trying to get their attention that this is something that can be used here, can be utilized. I mean, if it's there, we need to utilize it, so.
And the report that it generates comes out in PDF, and that is, it has 1 page for every parcel, and it doesn't translate to a spreadsheet very well, or at all. So that's another issue, I guess. I also would have a little bit of a discussion about Carrot. It's 1:30, so
I think we need to,
talk about that after.
yes. Time for the bid opening.
Okay, we have 2. Which one is from Foster Ford? '17 Ford F-350. And the price is $40,675. The other one is from Commssion Ford. '17 Ford F-350. And the price is $39,947.
$725 difference.
Now this is pickup only, there's no equipment mounted on it or anything, as far as snowplow or anything like that.
Right, the snowplow's not on it. It has the snowplow package, but it's not on it.
Well, you're gonna have to almost go through the bids to make sure that they're bidding the same thing before.
Well, we don't have to make a decision today, but
We don't have to, no.
Yeah, look how many pages he's got.
Stuff to look at.
He wrote you a novel.
wow. Killed a tree.
What'd you say the difference is?
Pardon me?
You said the difference?
I roughly figured, did you calculate it on
728.
728? I think that's at 725.
Hmm?
That's pretty close. Now, that would be state contract price, correct? And then we gotta have what kind of bed do we have to have to, a flat bed with arms to pick the boxes up?
No,
or-
that's on the trailer, remember?
Oh, that's right, that's right.
Trailer's a separate thing. We just needed the tow package.
So what are you gonna put, just a flat bed on it, or?
No, we don't have a bed.
Oh,
It's
it'll
just
have
got a regular bed.
on
This
it.
is with a
Yeah,
regular bed.
Right.
I see.
It's a regular pickup. Let's pull in that.
Pulling the trailer,
These trucks will be white.
silver.
It was Road and Bridge that was doing the white.
Yeah, ours are silver.
The whole county will do the same.
I think they're very comparable. I think that there's probably enough stuff here that you can probably sift through this for a while and come back next week and
Yeah.
See if there's any difference in any packages or anything like
Right.
that would, as far as the bids there. Yeah, like I said, they killed a tree.
You'd think rear view camera would be standard, shown as an extra on this one.
I don't think they asked for any of that, any
I thought
extra.
it was included with the first one.
Yeah, there's kind of more to look at.
Hmm?
Quite a bit to look at.
Yeah, he's got that.
I'll look at them and she can put them on the agenda for next week.
Okay, that's great.
Copies of those in the packet. Copies of those in the packet.
If you would go to the office and we can put them.
I can. Mm-hmm. Bring it back over here.
That one's gonna make quite a few copies.
Well,
Yeah.
we just have to scan them, we don't have to print them.
What are you doing, practicing looking at the sun already?
Well,
With your
Katie
glasses?
gave them to me, so I'm going back out there.
If you take them over there, just have them scan them tomorrow. They
Okay,
can scan them to me and then I'll forward them.
sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
See you next week.
I'll let you know for sure on time.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay, I believe Pat, you said you had some more business.
Oh, just with Kara, we had the board meeting last week, and for the reason I wasn't here. It was a pretty good board meeting. There was, I kind of see a change in the direction in that I think starting to question a little more, why are we doing things the way we've been doing them, and talking about efficiencies and talking about opportunities maybe to combine with to partner with other organizations. So the one thing that I had really asked for from them last year and the earlier part of this year is to try to get us our estimates on what our premium will be for the next year earlier. And in fact, I don't see much of a reason why they couldn't have that to us in the end of July, for example, instead of at the end of December. They use a 3-year claim history, but that claim history doesn't include for our 2018 premium won't include 2017 claims info. It's based off 16, 15, and 14. And we continue to, K.S.A continues to be strong financially. There will likely be a rebate that is forthcoming, and the rebate has to do with excess funds that are left from many prior years. That is, it's not for the most recent year, or 2 or 3. So the entities that have been in the organization the longest would receive more. I have sort of always thought every time we get a rebate from somebody, I wonder why they overcharged us in the first place. But this is a little different, I think, because this is what would ordinarily be in profit for the insurance company that's now a dividend back to the owner members. So I don't know how much you want to be involved in the policy of trying to guide what we do with with work comp insurance, or it's not an insurance, it's a pool. I think from what I can gather, our rates are good, and that's because we've had a really pretty good claim history in Atchison County. Just had a couple of claims that were of significance over the $50,000 threshold, I think, in our history. So, but I don't know if any of you are interested in the day-to-day operations, how they operate. There's talk about whether we ought to be hiring our own staff, or currently we contract out services, and we don't have, Carrot doesn't have any employees. Mark, Mid-America Regional Council, administers it, and they hire contractors. Thomas McGee is the biggest one to do underwriting, and they hire actuaries and whatnot to do all the math behind the insurance. And I think they would still hire most of those things out, but the adjusting, for example, could maybe be done in-house. Could definitely be done in-house. I don't know whether it could be done in-house for the same quality and same price, but that's one of the things that we're considering moving. So I don't know if any of you have an interest in discussing that in any greater detail or not.
I really don't.
I can't see the need, or
There
No.
is an entity they made us aware of in Missouri that is probably coming into Kansas this year, and they do have health insurance as one of their lines, and I would be interested in seeing how that would compare, being in like a self-insured pool for health insurance, if that would be something that would be cost effective or not cost effective. And of course, the number of employees we have would be a big factor in that. But if there would be savings available, that might be something that we'd be interested in looking at.
I don't think it never hurts to look at any of those types of programs. And any of those things, I mean, if we right now aren't basically interested in further, but I mean, if you see something that piques your interest or thinks that maybe we would be interested in a project, or let us know.
Okay.
I think at some point in time we need to look at our K.S.A. insurance. I think we're way overinsured.
You know, I saw that last week. There was something about whether we were going to nominate somebody for membership on the board. The Carrot governance is every member has a seat at the table. So they have 18 participating entities. They have 18 votes on their board. I think it's a great idea to have somebody from the county involved in that. And candidly, I think we don't have a lot of insight into how they operate without having somebody on the board, and we don't have really access to the financial data and whatnot. There are a couple things with them that I'm somewhat, I understand what they've done, but for example, when we had to turn over the claim by the inmate for medical care, I had essentially done the work on it, and would have been free, but we're going to be faced with paying half of an attorney to defend that. So I'd like to see some changes with K.S.A. on some of those things, but
How often do they meet?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I think John Calhoun had been a representative before.
So are you suggesting a commissioner or are you suggesting an employee? Either one?
Yeah, I don't know that it matters who it is. Yeah, was there, there wasn't anything on the agenda. I didn't know if there was a letter about the K.S.A. Board of Trustees.
I think that was last week.
How
When-
often they meet, I don't know.
Oh,
And where they meet.
So we can appoint a board member.
Well, I think we could nominate a board member.
Uh-huh.
I don't think I think they only have a limited number, 5, maybe 7.
If you can think of somebody and approach them, it would be fine. I mean, if you can think of an employee or that you think it would possibly do it and be interested in, it'd be great to have somebody on there. I think maybe we ought to look into seeing how often they meet and everything, and can somebody find out that information, Pat or Michelle or who? Are you both doing it or one of you?
I can get it with Pat. I can actually go get it if you want me to go get the paperwork now, or do you just email it to you later?
Just email it, I think.
Well, I didn't know, did that actually say how often they meet or information like that?
I don't.
I almost think that we're gonna, because I kind of looked through that paperwork and I don't remember seeing that. I think we would almost have to email them and maybe get information through that for a good answer. You see any of these?
What did we table last week that we was gonna bring it up this week to the agenda? Was that the Sedgwick Road?
That was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago? Okay. Do you want to make a decision on the Shepherd Road property?
Do we need to have a
Executive session?
or vote or anything on that, Pat, on the Shepherd Road, or?
I don't think there's anything for you to do.
That's,
Just so we support the appraiser's opinion and
Well, you could do that if you wanted to, but it really is just simply giving some. It doesn't have any official weight.
well, didn't Mrs. Shepherd or his daughter want an answer one way or another so they
just to,
proceed or?
yeah, because they have their way of proceeding. They just gave us one last chance to change our mind if we wanted to. And I don't think I haven't gotten any indication that we've changed our mind, so I'll just let her know that we haven't changed our mind.
I haven't changed mine, have you, Commissioner?
And I will get back with her then, and let her know. Do we need any executive session or anything? Right.
None that I know of.
Okay, I'm just trying to kind of go through some of this while we're waiting on our 2 o'clock appointment.
You've did your county councilor updates.
Yes.
Do you want to take care of assess, we already did assess that.
Where are we at on the, I guess it's in Dinner Foster's hands about the partially demolished trailer? Are we proceeding with that, or we talking to the owner?
I did not get done getting a hearing set for a status conference on it, but it's on my short list.
Okay.
So.
Next week is our budget hearing. Is there a special itinerary or anything for that? I mean, when we go into budget hearing,
No, not really. You just open it up for public, you open the public
Public comment.
hearing and take any comments if there are.
okay.
And
I was just thinking, as chairman, I never thought of it before. I didn't have to worry about it, but now as a chairman, I want to make sure that we have anything, if there's any special agenda items that we have on that.
It would probably be best to answer if we have any questions, but not trying to explain why we did this or this.
well, it's really an opportunity for them to give their opinions. It's not really a question and answer session with the board. It's a hearing for them to give input to the board. And in fact, there really isn't a forum for a question and answer session with you all unless you want to have one.
The way I read that is like you have the public hearing and then you vote to adopt the budget. So has there ever been a time when they decided not to adopt that budget? And what happens?
Yes, we have to republish.
You have
Well,
to-
if you can adopt a budget that's less without republishing. If you're going higher, you have to republish.
You also could have a budget amendment from the commission. I'd have to make a motion, so it'd have to be seconded. If we wanted a budget amendment.
You can amend it not if it raises the mills, the mill levy.
Oh, okay. So if you decide, okay.
If you decide to raise, you'd have to have another publication and another public hearing before you can approve it.
Okay. That's what, I've never been through that, and so.
If you
just-
raise it.
Yeah,
If you
if-
lower it, you can just approve it as a lower. But if you increase it, you have to go through the process again.
Okay.
Because you have to give that public the right to come in to express their opinion.
And we invite them. That's
Yes. Yes.
a lot of work, but we might have missed something.
Okay. Is there anything else I'm missing on the agenda? We go to 2:00. Is there any old or unfinished business? Do we want to just put that Sedgwick Road back on the agenda for next week
I
then?
can do that. I'll talk to Seth and make sure he's here.
Okay.
I
I
can
mean,
talk to him and
As I understand it, we have two parties possibly interested in the nursing home. Do we need to get a little bit more aggressive on that and have them come in and talk to them face to face, or?
That's really however you want to do it is fine.
I think the longer it's out there, it's going to get stale, so to speak. And we've got two interested parties, and they've come forth, but we've never really countered or discussed any of the.
I think they're in their
Details with them.
fact finding right now
Oh,
because
they're still doing all that.
yeah, because I think I had an individual who works at the county home said that she saw it being shown last
I
week.
see.
So anyway, there was just some
I
people
guess we'll kinda
looking.
wait till we hear.
Yeah, I just talked with Peggy last week, so it wasn't. Hello, hello. Hello. Come on up the front row. Don't be bashful.
I think the hospice girls are seeing some patients, but I told them we were in here if they can get over here to come on in so they can meet you guys. Text me back. You guys, I don't know if you know Holly. You know Holly Black. She was the director of Catholic Charities, but we hired her to be our social worker. So she is now doing social work for both hospice and public health in all three counties. She visits them during their WIC days, and WIC clients get filtered through her, and she's had a lot of interesting things already occur. So we just kind of wanted to let her talk to you a little bit about what she's doing here in your county.
With the WIC patients, I'm trying to do, I usually try to see them, everyone that comes through on WIC days when I'm here. I kind of travel between the different counties, so I'm in each county about once a month. And kind of touch base with them on anything from postpartum depression, to the need for community resources, and especially when I work in Atchison County, I'm super aware of all the resources that are in Atchison County. So, if they're on the verge of getting utilities shut off, or evicted, or are homeless, I'm kind of helping connect them with the resources in our county, in our community, that will help them to hopefully keep utilities on, hopefully find a place to live. Sometimes it's connecting them with different food banks in town, food pantries, the whole mental health, making sure that they're getting connected with mental health. While they're sitting there, I've just picked up the phone and called the guidance center and said, hey, and the guidance center is great about working with us and getting people in and trying to funnel them through crisis hours if we can, and if we can't, we'll figure something else out for them. So just see a little bit of everything.
And then you want to tell them a little bit about what you do for home health and hospice?
Yeah, and with home health and hospice, I help counsel the patients and the families around end-of-life issues and some of the different things that come up with that, and some of the emotional aspects of that. I usually meet with families and patients a couple of times a month, more if I need to. I have one family actually in our county right now, in Atchison County, that I'm seeing weekly, just because the needs are so great. We have another family that has small children, and kind of helping with referrals for the small children, or just interactions with them, different ideas, things like that that they can do to help them understand the process of death and dying at a child's level instead of an adult's level. So, and with home health, some of the same, but a little bit more resource oriented usually with home health. If they're wanting to stay in their homes, trying to help them find people that can come in and help them out, getting them connected with the Area Agency on Aging, helping them get connected with Medicaid if they're needing that. So the home health end is a little bit more resource oriented, advanced directives, DPOAs, things like that, where hospice tends to be a little bit more of the emotional and mental aspect of the death and dying process for the patients and the families. It's kind of it in a nutshell.
You guys have any questions?
Well, I had heard, and I don't know that I know all of the details, but that we had somebody in the last year, maybe it was sort of living without electricity, without any amenities, go through hospice. No electricity, no.
The guy in the shed were you with us then?
Yeah, but when I saw him, he wasn't hospice, he was from home.
Oh, he was, okay.
I didn't know I must have left and I had been with NEK, very part-time, and I left and went to Catholic Charities, and they kind of stole me back. So, yeah, we did we did have a guy on home health at one time that was in a shed with no utilities. And I went out there and I was like, I can get you an apartment, because I had already called. I didn't give names, and he was like, literally we're standing outside, he's like, why would I want to leave this? And I kid you not, like this giant badgery looking thing comes running up. It was huge. And he was like, see, if I had my own apartment, I wouldn't see this out in nature. Like, he liked the way he lived, and that's another thing. We have to be respectful of the way people want to live. I mean, just because most of us want all of the wonderful amenities, some people really want to live more simply.
How many people have you seen where they really are in terrible living conditions and the family conditions are not supportive?
Through home health and hospice, or just in general?
Well, let's go through home health and hospice.
We definitely have people that live in conditions that we wouldn't consider very good. I went into a home one time and I thought, why are all the bags of food hanging? I was a little green at the time. Why are all the bags of food hanging from the ceiling? And then I looked over in the corner and there were rats running around in the corner, and I was like, that's why, There are resources in our community. They're not abundant, but typically we manage to get people the help that they need as far as keeping things on. It gets tricky when you have home health and hospice patients, because you have things like oxygen concentrators and air mattresses and things that if they don't have electricity, they're not going to make it. And usually we have pretty good luck working with the different agencies and making sure that they're taken care of.
And now we have Medicare mandated emergency preparedness procedures that we have to take to assure that in any sort of an emergency, their oxygen will continue to work. So even if they're 60 miles away, somehow we have to assure that their oxygen stays on and they stay comfortable.
And sometimes we get creative in how we're resourceful. We had a gentleman recently who had a window unit, but his place was still stifling. I mean, it was like 85 degrees when we would go in there, and he had a lot of lung issues, and so the heat was really bad. And I kind of brought that back to our group, and I called around. There was no luck trying to get him another window unit, and as an agency, and I don't know if it came out of volunteer money or just as an agency,
Memorial funds.
Memorial funds. We ended up purchasing a portable air conditioning unit. And he understands that, you know, when he passes, that we'll take it back and then we'll give it to another patient that's in need. So, you know, sometimes we have to kind of
think on our feet.
Yeah.
I think I was in a meeting when I ordered that. for you
Yeah, we were
guys.
all on our devices trying to find one that was close and reasonable in stock, and thank goodness he got it like the day before we had that like 100-degree streak, and so it was great. But sometimes we have to be resourceful within our own agency to kind of get people's needs
You
met.
mentioned the poor housing conditions. Is there anything you can do to change that? I mean, you see a situation like that?
You mean like move them somewhere else?
Well, is there landlords involved? Are there regulations? Are there?
A couple of the people that I've worked with that have been in such poor situations have owned their own trailers and been in their own, you know. I have talked with family members before about taking somebody in if the conditions are that poor, if they've got, like we had a lady recently living in a trailer and her air went out. Her conditions weren't so poor as it was just 100 degrees outside and it was so hot. And she went to families until they could get it fixed. So, and again, we kind of go back to free will. I mean, just because these people are on hospice doesn't mean they don't have their minds, you know, and if they're, you know, sometimes 95-year-old grandma's pretty stubborn, you know, and, you know, we can't go in and make them do anything. We can only try to guide them and make suggestions, so.
One of our long-term goals, at least that hospice girls have come to me with, is once we have enough startup capital saved, they would like to look into a hospice house for the area. We kind of have to do a risk assessment. I mean, we have to do a needs assessment, obviously, and see if that kind of a thing would be useful here. But just based on some of the stories that they brought to me about the living conditions, some of the people, and the lack of family support and resources, it seems like some of them would be much more comfortable and supported in the dying process if they were in a stable and comfortable environment with round-the-clock care.
Yeah, and some people's environments aren't necessarily bad, but they're not conducive to somebody that's got special needs, like, you know, wheelchair accessible bathrooms or doorways. Or we had a gentleman recently who we were working on seeing if, or I was working on seeing if I could find a ramp for him because he couldn't get in and out of his house. He ended up passing before the whole ramp thing ended up really getting kicked off. But, you know, sometimes it's just their environments are not necessarily bad environments, they're just not conducive to their needs once they're on hospice.
What about when you have these people that are in these poor conditions and choose not to leave, but the workers, the safety of the healthcare worker that goes there? I mean, what if there's infestations or things like that? I mean, how do you deal with that? I mean,
Nurses always have proper precautions if they suspect that there are things like bed bugs in the house. I know they don't bring their bags in, they don't set them on the floor, they'll change their clothes. I mean, they're really on top of that. They're pretty diligent about, you know, assessing the situations. We've talked about that. That's been a question of mine. I know that they've gone into some pretty horrible environments before.
And our public health nurses as well face the same risks when they go do the baby home visits. And so we've all had quite a bit of education on those types of things, and they'll leave everything in their cars and change immediately. I mean, unfortunately, it's just
it's part
what
of
you have to deal with.
I guess where I was.
If the environment is bad enough, I mean, if it's a danger to someone, And we've talked to them about it. I mean, obviously we can hotline it. You know, I mean, I've done a lot of hotline calls in my day, and I can't say a whole lot comes out of a lot of the hotline calls, but we can, you know, hotline it and say, you know, this person is not have, you know, decision-making capacity at this point, and their environment is a danger to themselves, and definitely we can do that. That's always an option.
Was
It's
also,
not the option you want to take. I mean, you really want
Right.
to, that's like your last resort. So.
but you mentioned a hospice house. I was even thinking of bringing those people, if you had to bring that person into that environment, you know, how would you?
And there are ways of dealing with
Okay.
it. I mean, you probably would be surprised at your local nursing homes how many of them have had critters brought in, and they have to deal with it. Schools, state buildings. I mean, unfortunately, it's just a matter of we're all susceptible to it.
Yeah.
The health department
Yeah.
had them too. I mean, and the place next door to us had them very bad, and you know, we get rid of them at the health department, but they might still be over there. They may come back in with the, you know, with the people when they come over.
Clients bring them in.
We've had schools call the health department and say, what do we do about this? You know, we have benefits.
Yeah.
And local schools, you know, so.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, what else do we want to report on about home health and hospice? Another thing that they would like to do in the near future, Abby says, is a therapy dog. Trained, obviously, trained therapy dog. Somebody, it will have to be somebody's pet that they take home in the evenings and stuff, but it would be, they said that they have had a lot of dementia clients where it would be very comforting to them. Kids, we are just about, well, I think we're about the most popular, the most sought after hospice, at least in probably, we get a lot of referrals from Doniphan County, even the hospital here to hospice. Children's Mercy
For
refers,
kids.
yes, because we'll take the children, we'll take the vets, we'll take the Medicaid people that are very, very hard to bill for that nobody else will take, and especially for-profits. And for-profits tend to shy away from taking the people who are going to die immediately and who are going to have very painful and high needs deaths, you know.
It's also important when it comes to kids that we don't mean we just give them the basic care that they need. All of our staff has gone above and beyond to give the entire family the best that we have to offer until they pass, and then continued support. We had a local family and there were donations, and we were able to set up on Easter Sunday, Kristen and I, through local donations, and then making just tons of phone calls, a family vacation that was going to be the last vacation that they were going to take their child on, and get, you know, the Omaha Zoo to have a tram and to take this family around. And we sought out different, not necessarily medical products, but things that the child could use so that they could go swimming and they could really actually just live, not just basic medical needs. And so when it comes to kids, we have a really great team that will do whatever they can do to make that last bit of their life as best as they can for the child and the entire family. So
And the Atchison community really came together.
it was amazing. I can't tell you how much we cried.
Yeah, we had a business owner offer to pay a trip, just all expenses paid, to Disneyland for them.
Wow.
Unfortunately, she wasn't in good enough health to be able to make that trip. But it was an amazing offer, you know, to just, because they wanted to do manicures and pedicures, and so we coordinated it so that way they can go in there and get that done. And as soon as the owner found out that this little girl was, you know, terminal, I mean, he called us and that's what he wanted to do. And I mean, I thought that was pretty incredible. And I know the school gave her a prom. They let her go to prom. She was 9, was she 9? Yeah. So the school got involved. I mean, it just brought the community really together. It was pretty amazing. I think you guys admitted a 3-day-old on a weekend not too long ago.
Yeah, we did. We went
Here in
on Sunday.
Atchison.
Wow.
I mean, we had a baby with special needs, and his parents were.
Oh, a couple, like 2 years ago.
Yeah, they were.
It was a lot of hotline types and stuff going on with that family. It was a tough one, but
Yeah, they had special needs of their own, and it was very difficult for them to comprehend what hospice really was. And their baby had all oxygen on him all the time, did feeding tube all the time. So it was very, it's a lot of attention needed to be paid. So just to let you guys know a little bit about our hospice, because you're part of NEK and they're part of NEK, and this is, the stuff that we're doing in your community. And we probably aren't real high profile, because hospices usually aren't real high profile things,
And I think
which
for a
is
long
okay.
time, public health hasn't been very high profile either. And
Christy is changing
Christy
that.
is working on that, and there has been a lot of staff change at the health department. Christy has Cameron Roloff, and she's an RN. She's working with Christy part-time. She has a new breastfeeding peer counselor. Both of those ladies, the newer ladies, are working to get more programs and more supplies
Yeah.
and things that they can offer to new moms for support. And Christy has worked a lot with Wes, and she's
She's
just
sitting in
really
Cliff's Day
putting
working
herself
with
out
them.
there. And then I know, like Kristen had brought up the emergency preparedness for hospice. Wes is going to help our girls with badges, and we've coordinated some with Jackson County. So we're really just trying to get out there and let everybody know what we're doing, and be more helpful if there's things that the community and the county needs public health or any of our staff to help with. We definitely want to be available for that.
Christy did the backpack day. Solar eclipse day, most of the staff is taking off because schools are closed. Christy said, there's nothing really for me to do in the health department, but Wes has asked if I would ride along in the ambulance and help with when things, when there's accidents and stuff like that. And I said, absolutely go. I mean, you're a registered nurse, there's a lot you can do to help. You're part of the county and he's part of the county, and there's no reason that, that shouldn't work for you guys to work together. And he had her work together at the MVP incident with him. Yeah, she's really been getting out into the community, and I'm really excited and proud of her for doing that, because she has little kids, and these moms, they're peers, and they look at her and they see someone who is successful and a good role model. So we're very excited about that. But we don't need anything. We just wanted to come in and say hello and just kind of let you know a little bit about what we're doing. Do you guys have anything at all that you want to see in your communities that we might be able to help with?
Improvement of our housing stocks,
Yeah.
more regulations on the landlords.
I know. Well,
I think that's
love to
more of
talk
a,
about that all
probably
day.
a state level.
I don't think there are, unless you take it to civil court, right? There's really nothing that
I can
there's a
tell you
landlord tenant act.
from my time working at Catholic Charities, I had to go into some of the rental units in town and try to get them approved for some HUD funding.
Oh, it's terrible.
It was awful. I had one family, we probably went and looked at 6 different properties. We never could find a place that would pass approval for them. And that was gonna be so we could pay their rent for 3 months. It's very hard to, I was like appalled at some of the places I was going into, and they're charging like $500 a month for this like 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, like the tubs are just rust buckets, and it was like no facing on the oven doors. I'm like, and they're gonna put a small child in there? It's the things that I saw were just amazing,
Have
really.
you guys talked to any K.S.A, because they can condemn properties?
Yeah, well, I'm also on that board.
Yes.
So, if there's anything that you think that they can do or get into a situation there, let us know.
If a property is a public health nuisance or
sanitation codes or anything like that. They're on the sanitation codes, especially in the rural areas. That's, you
Yeah,
know,
and you guys probably, you're a big enough city, you probably have a city, like, code enforcement officer and.
that would be in the city, but,
in
you
the
know, that's,
city.
yeah,
But then the county stuff, that would be, you know.
more
you
any
guys,
KES, yeah.
mhm. And, you know, any KES can come into cities too, like in Whiting, we had Dennis come and talk to us about some properties that we had there, but see, in Whiting, we don't have, a code enforcement officer, nobody wants to do that job.
You know,
You know?
that's a good idea, because actually when you guys get into some of these places, and maybe you could see when you drive in a failing sanitation, septic system or something like that. I mean, some of that stuff just needs to be reported, and sometimes it goes for years. Yeah.
Some of the condemned houses, I think, just never get torn down. And I don't know if it was Hiawatha, like the city of Hiawatha, or Brown County, but recently they had a grant where they got grant money to pay for these houses that were condemned to be demolished. And that helped clean up quite a bit. And then they had, like, for example, if someone purchased the property, they had this grant money, and you could basically, like, we'll pay half, you pay half to get this torn down. And we purchased a condemned house that was behind our property and paid half and half, and then had a big beautiful yard. But I don't know if there's someone that you could reach out to and they could give you information about a grant like that that would help to kind of cover costs, because it is really expensive to demolish a house. I think it was $14,000 for the house that we.
Oh, that must have been big. So I think in the city of Effingham, I think a lot of those are about 35 to 4,000 but they're smaller homes. But
I mean, it wasn't huge, but there's a basement and things like that that had to be filled in. And some of them are 6,000-7,000 even. It depends on your contractor too, and how much competition is in your area. But there are funds available. It just takes time, and most of us don't have the time to research that.
To condemn a house, if I remember what Dennis told me, it is a process of a couple of years, because you have to send notices, you know, certified letters to the owners. You have to give them the opportunity to clean up the properties. There is a whole, you know, you have to allow them to come to your municipal court and defend themselves, and there's a whole legal process that has to be gone through in order, and that was part of the reason why in Whiting we didn't pursue it, because we don't even have a municipal court, and we don't really have the resources. You can put it, I guess, on their taxes, the cost of either cleaning it up or tearing it down, but they said most of the time you're just stuck with it.
yeah.
You're stuck with the expense. So
People suffering the process of poverty need more self-esteem and living in better homes. And I'm not suggesting welfare, I'm talking about
yes,
society
Yes.
as general.
yes.
But I understand that a lot of the situations that you're talking about, tenants are fear of the retaliation of landlords.
I think so. I think you're right. Because they kick them out, and then there is nowhere for them to go, and they know they'll be homeless.
Right. So they
Or
live there.
they've said something to their landlord over and over and over again, and they just don't do anything, you know?
They don't have the money to take them to court to try to enforce, you know, the Landlord-Tenant Act. And I really think that we do, one idea that I have, I think that we do a really good job of addressing people's immediate emergency needs, but I would like to see maybe our agency partner with some other agencies. You've got two great colleges that churn out nurses, and then they leave. And we have such a huge nursing shortage. And for some of these teenage moms, they have no chance of upward mobility. You know what I mean? Like, they get out of there, they will go on food stamps, they need education. And I would like to see some sort of a grant, at least for Highland. Highland is very inexpensive. You can get your RN in 2 years. And then you can go making $25 an hour with an associate degree and $13,000 in debt. And you know that they'll be able to apply for Pell Grants, and they'll get Pell Grants. But some sort of a scholarship, a competitive even scholarship, make them write
the reason why they deserve to win. You know what I mean? But something that actually helps, it will help them make a living for themselves and their kids on their own, and something that will contribute to your tax base, you know, in the future, as opposed to just simply allowing these young women to go onto the welfare system and never get off.
Me and my wife got heavily involved with the mentor program, and it's a good program, but it's awful hard to help somebody if they won't want to help themselves. That's your biggest challenge.
And that's generational poverty, and you have a lot of
It is a
that.
challenge. No doubt.
Yeah, it's a completely different mindset. I think it is really hard to find people to come out of generational poverty. You know, situational is different, and those people usually will wind up helping themselves. But it is a self-esteem thing too, and it's a family.
There's a lot of mental illness
Yes.
tied to poverty as well. You know, when you're mentally ill and you're not consistently getting the kind of mental health treatment that you need, it makes it very hard to hold a job, to even get up in the mornings, to cook a meal, to take care of your children. I mean, mental illness is just very, very persistent in the lower income base.
So by bringing Holly in, we're helping to kind of fill a gap a little bit and give people, just give them someone to talk to. And we had a suicidal Guatemalan lady in Jackson County who had to talk to Holly through a translator. I mean, K.S.A couldn't put her in they had no where to go.
But we have a great translator there in Holton.
She speaks K.S.A, which is a dialect of Spanish.
It's very hard. I actually understand
I tried to learn how to
Spanish,
speak it.
but I can barely piece together a sentence of their dialect. It's a lot different.
What did you call that?
Quiche.
Quiche?
Yeah, it's a Mayan language.
You know what?
It's
I've never heard of it.
oriented.
What I saw happening though in Holton is the first time I ever worked in that office, this poor little girl came 3 times that day, and she was, I don't know, I want to say she like 9 or 10, she could have been 11 or 12, I'm not sure, but they kept pulling her out of school to come over and translate, you know.
Are you guys in need of translators, Spanish translators or anything? Or do you have access to?
We actually, for a long time, staff used the language line because they were kind of directed in that way by previous administration, and we reached out and talked to some of our grant coordinators, like with WIC and the MCH program, and they said, you know, gave us the go-ahead to find someone, and so we do have a really wonderful translator, and it has
I
made
love the girl in
huge
Holton.
difference.
She's just fabulous, and I just think she can relate to them so well. And
Well, I'm also on the kneecap board, and they were in need of a translator, so I didn't know if there was anything that we could.
Well, we had the enrollment fair with kneecap,
And our translator went, so they would have met in Jackson County, they would have met her. Really, the
Okay.
need for us was strongest in Jackson County. In Brown County,
And that's
we
where,
had,
and the same
like,
same area that they were. So
Yes.
has this been in the very recent future or recent
Just
past?
about a month ago, we had an enrollment
Okay.
fair. We did it in all 3 counties. We had all the nurses and all the clerks come to every county.
Mhm.
Kneecap came, and they would enroll the kids, and then they would just go through, you know, getting their hearing screening, their vision screening, their immunizations,
Excellent.
everything, all in one day.
And
Mhm.
other agencies in Jackson County have actually even called and requested to use the same translator contract that I created for our translator. So I know Kansas is going to use her. So they would know how to contact her. She
Okay.
is really, really good. It's a lot more personal than calling on a phone.
yeah, I
Right.
did the phone thing one time, and I couldn't get the poor girl to say anything. The translator would just keep saying, she just says no. And it's funny because I saw her again last week with an actual translator, and it was like a totally different experience with her. She was very talkative and more animated, and really it went.
I hate talking on the phone with somebody that speaks English because you can't pick up the nuances of
It's
what
not-
language is,
especially
body
if you're talking
language,
about delicate
tone,
medical
yeah,
information.
everything like that
Well,
can be.
it's kinda like the girl that we were helping kind of felt better because the translator said, I told her, like, you are a safe person. Like, she really needs to, like, you know, and then, you know, she's like, I'm telling them, you know. And so it kind of helped just having her to kind of bridge that gap, you know. Because who am I to this girl? You know, I mean, I could be somebody trying to, you know, work against her for all she
And
knows.
that's another thing, is we don't call Holly a social worker at the health department. That's a scary thing. We call her a referral coordinator or health educator or something like that.
If they ask me if I'm a social worker, I'm not gonna lie though. I mean,
Yeah.
And honestly, in Atchison County, everybody that comes into WIC pretty much already knows me anyways. It's a little different in Holton and in Brown, because I have not been as ingrained in those communities as I am here. But 9 times out of 10, I know that people are coming into WIC. So
And they know that you're
Yeah.
just there to help them.
yeah, in fact, I've had a couple come in and they're like, oh my gosh, you know. So
Happy to see you.
happy to see me.
Excellent. So,
Well.
thank you very much for coming.
Yeah.
Oh, is there anything more on the, we had emailed there last week, and I didn't get back a chance to visit with you, but you talked with Pat a lot about.
Pat and I did talk, and like I said, he has copies of all of our documents, the little bit of documents we have,
And-
the bylaws and the interlocal agreement.
We're
and
talking
state
about,
We have a
statutes.
4-page resolution, that's the interlocal
That's-
agreement, I think.
Yeah, the
Uh-huh.
extent of it.
And and the bylaws. We had talked at one time that probably it's a good idea to update the agreement,
And we had talked about updating our bylaws just within the agency, because they're pretty antiquated. So, I mean, it kind of probably all needs done.
It all needs to be really uniform and so that one doesn't negate the other one. You know, that they go together as far as the board members' duties and what happens to different things should any dissolve. Because we've got home health and hospice, and they have to have a separate budget according to Medicaid and Medicare. We have to have a 3-year capital expenditure plan for them. We have to have a separate budget. So we have to be really, really careful, I think, in not commingling the public health funds. And that was part of the question that I had asked the attorney that NEK chose to hire, because I wanted to be sure that we were doing our accounting correctly. That we weren't, we would. and
you weren't going to
have
be disqualified because of commingling or other issues.
With public health and things like that, yeah, I mean, because we have nothing in our bylaws about home health and hospice. The original interlocal agreement doesn't mention anything about taking on home health or hospice in addition to public health. It only specifically lists public health. And even in public health, there have been so many additions to what we do through contracts with the state and federal governments. So those are all things that if there were to be a change like they did in Neosho County, they're really stuck right now.
I haven't heard about
You
that.
haven't heard about that?
Uh-uh.
Neosho County commissioners decided to just dismantle their public health system and give it to the hospital. But they didn't tell their public health administrator. She had to find out from the Kansas Association of Local Health Departments, which is a board that I'm on, that she was going to lose her job. And they didn't tell the county hospital administrator that he was going to be responsible not only for disease investigation, but also for all of the grants that they had already contracted, to do. And so KDHE wrote them a very nice letter, which they shared with us, basically saying, here is everything that you've got to do. And the effective date was August 9th, and they have not heard back from them. And health department is still running there as normal, I think, because they are now stuck and they really don't know what to do or how to give this over to the hospital. And the hospital administrator is probably like, we don't need any more money losing programs over here. I mean, they have a 15,000 population of 15,000.
A little bit over.
A little over.
Because there's what's the population cap? Like, if you have over a certain amount, you cannot choose to do that. Is it 15,000 or 6?
I thought it was 15,000.
They're over. And that was
Right.
another thing that had been brought up in one of the last meetings we went to, is that they technically don't even qualify to dismantle public health because they are over the population cap. And they just made this decision and then haven't followed up on any of the letters because when your county health department has already accepted contracts and grants, they're giving you this money and you can't just stop or you have to pay it all back.
Well,
Mhm.
yeah, and not only that, but there's statutory requirements then too that are not being met. I mean, disease investigation requires a massive amount of training. You can't turn it over within a week to someone. They have to go through all the training. So,
I know when I go to the K.S.A. conferences and meet the other commissioners, it seems like in western Kansas, public health is a lot bigger problem, or because they're smaller populations, big counties, lots of area between them, and trying to fund the public health is, I mean, we've got it good, guys, believe me, because I've heard
they're suffering.
they're really suffering out there.
Well,
So,
some counties have a population of what, 1,500 people
yeah, and they're required to,
required to have these.
so per capita, I mean, their spending on their health is
And how many,
huge,
how
yeah.
many of their population are illegal immigrants too? You know what I mean? A huge amount. I went to Dodge City to go out there and talk to the public health administrator for call, and that was not only the most miserable trip of my life, but hardly anybody spoke English. It was pretty amazing, and it was a food desert. We drove through town after town after town, and there was gas stations, and that's it. Where do people get milk or fresh fruit or, I
The
mean,
Casey's, if there's one there.
Yeah.
They might get a banana.
There's
Some
bananas
squishy
and
grapes.
apples.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, their health outcomes out there are absolutely terrible. I know Atchison, I think your biggest negative is your high unemployment rate. I think you guys have the highest unemployment rate of 6% in the state, which I really don't.
Holly actually has created a job board at our
Yes.
health department.
Well, in each of the health departments,
Yeah.
there's job boards that I'm posting
So
now,
maybe try
which
and
will
help with
be
that.
like from the level of I don't have a high school diploma to I do have one, and maybe I have like a year or two of carpentry experience. So the job boards kind of are going to try to cover kind of the full gamut, because really. I realized this at Catholic Charities because I did the same thing down there, and then I kind of realized it when I was talking to the people at WIC. They're like, oh my gosh, I need a job. I have no idea where to go for what I'm qualified for. And so that's when I kind of thought, well, let's try a job board and see what happens. Then I'll get one or two people a job, then it's, But it's hard because when places like I know for a while, Fargo Assembly, and let's face it, like people just cycle through there like crazy, but they didn't have enough business. Like they weren't even running all their shifts for a while, and so people, normally that's a go-to place. Like if people
Mm-hmm.
don't have a high school diploma, they can usually go out there and get something, and they weren't even, working people for a while.
I think
So
every town has a Fargo.
when I worked at Catholic Charities, when Bradkin slowed, everything there, I mean, I was just getting tons of people, coming over that had never, ever found themselves in a situation of not being able to pay their bills before.
I think it goes hand in hand. Atchison County has the highest unemployment, but I've been told that we are also the highest in assistance of any county in Kansas.
You mean we have a lot of assistance?
We pay more.
Oh.
We pay more in assistance than any other, a higher rate. So I think they kind of go hand in hand.
It would be nice if you knew how to fill out an application.
If what?
If you knew how to fill out an application.
And when I haven't done that
skills.
with this one, but when I was at Catholic Charities, I helped tons of people fill out, and I
It's
would
amazing
even,
how many
Resume
people-
writing.
yeah, and I would
People
do like
don't-
little mock interviews. I'd say, okay, these are some of the things they might ask you. How are you going to respond to that? And how are you going to dress for your interview? And sometimes it was okay. Let's go over to the thrift store and see what we can find. So
I've never
it's,
hired anybody with an earring in their nose.
yeah, I
Never have done
know, I know.
Years
Or
ago,
I had a guy came up with a tattoo on his forehead. He was like, I don't know why I can't get a job. And I'm like,
yeah, years ago I applied for, I was a rural substitute mail carrier, and I went down and took a postal test. And of course, I'm used to just taking high school tests, and I handed them out, and I had, at that time, that's when you would put in your name, and then you'd have to fill out the oval below, ERIC, and I had the whole thing filled out. And now she gets in front of the class and goes, now we will fill out the form. And they had to go step by step through, and she almost had to lean over the desk and fill out everybody's application. I had it filled out before she got them passed out, and I think it took over an hour. And I'm thinking, are these people qualified to do anything? You know, I mean, it was very eye-opening.
I went to an HR legal course in Kansas City recently, and I actually had to even call Kristen over lunch because Amazon had a huge like job fair at the same hotel that the conference was in, and I could not believe that people came to get a job in sweatpants, in slippers, and I wouldn't go out in public in some of the things they had on. A lot of them brought small children, and you know, I understand that when you have small children, sometimes I have small children, so I get it. It's sometimes hard to find care, but if you need a job, you absolutely have to find someone to watch your children. You cannot go to a job interview with a 2-year-old or a baby in your sweatpants with your cleavage or your boxer shorts or any of that showing. They didn't have any resumes or anything in their hand. The majority of the people did not look prepared, and I thought, oh my gosh, no wonder so many people are unemployed.
Yeah.
And I know like Voc Rehab here in Atchison, they'll work with people, you know, on some of those skills. That's a pretty good program. But just from my days of much social work in Atchison County, it's there are a lot of people that aren't literate, you know, and I really had to learn to adapt differently with different jobs that I've had and working with people, because we can't assume that people are going to be literate when they walk through our doors.
Do you guys consider the majority of your population who is on assistance to be Generation Xers or millennials? What do you think the age ranges are of the most people who need the most help?
First of all, I would say millennials,
Millennials?
but I would also say that we've got generationals.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the biggest problem, generationals.
Mm-hmm.
All these different groups.
Yeah. I went to social media marketing because our target demographic is millennials, and I don't understand millennials, but the fact that they've had information thrown at them, just how they've grown up, you know, with the internet and phones and all of that, the information gets thrown at them very quickly. So they're very efficient at processing information, but they don't write really incomplete sentences. Grammar doesn't matter to them. I mean, there's just so many differences between millennials and Gen Xers, just in the fact that the technology has changed so much and their environments have changed. And so I think when you have a lot of employers who are looking for, you know, people who can speak in complete sentences and don't abbreviate when they write, and you know what I mean?
Somebody that can read a clock.
Somebody that can
A lot of
read
people,
or
if it's not a digital clock, they can't read it.
Countback change, that's a huge skill
Yes.
that most people do not have. I constantly have to tell cashiers or waitresses or what, you know, how much change they actually owe.
They don't know how to do things like that. But
Be
they-
punctual. Punctuality
Yeah.
is a huge thing, you know, to be on time for a job. And, you know, it's like they're so relaxed. It's like, well, it'll be there when I get there. It might be for a couple times, but it's not going to continue.
It's a different generation for sure, and it's going to be, yeah. But they are very relaxed. Working 60 hours a week is not a priority. You know what I mean?
No.
Or sometimes 40 hours a week is not a priority.
Yeah.
So,
Working.
working
Period.
it all. But anyway, so we'll
Okay,
get out of your
thank
hair.
you very
Anything-
much.
anything-
Thank you very much.
This has been very interesting. Thank you.
Any little things here or there, like I said, we're gonna try and get out. Christy's really doing well about getting out into the communities more. We'll go back into the schools again this year, and we'll do health education in the schools like we did last year. They really, really liked her. Atchison would have had her every day if they could have gotten her every day in there. They had her for 2 full days just to tell 7th graders to quit having sex. So, 2 full days for that.
Wow.
And they gave her a lunch
My
break.
kid's gonna be in 6th grade, and that's so scary.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right,
Thank
guys,
you,
bye.
nice meeting you.
Okay. Any comments?
They got their work cut out for them. Just like I said, there's so many of them out there. You can give them everything they need, but it all starts within. They got to be able to help themselves.
I don't think she introduced the gal
I
in
was
the
gonna
center.
say, did you get all their names?
The middle one
I
is
don't know the middle one.
Christina Romaine, and she's the chief financial CFO. And Kristen Watkins, CEO. So I didn't. Was her last name Hart?
Holly Black.
Holly Black. I don't know where I got Hart at. I was trying to think of it as soon as I'm bad about it, and I didn't write it down. So Holly Black. Write it down. Okay, with that, if there's no other comments or anything, do I hear a motion to adjourn
So
at
moved.
2:40?
I second that, Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.